Good evening and welcome to another edition of the HCC Experience. It gives us an opportunity to talk to the community about some of the exciting things that are happening on campus. I'm Ed Berger, president of Hutchinson Community College, and every week I can bring you a different guest who has additional insights on Hutchinson Community College and perhaps can give you a little different view of what the college is doing and some of the exciting things that are happening at Hutchinson Community College. This evening's guest is Dave Mullins, and Dave is the director of our Workforce Development Center. And we might just tell the viewers a little bit about what the Workforce Development Center is, the clientele it serves, and the kind of activities you're a part of, and where you're at on campus.
We are just off of 14th Street on campus. The street address would be 614 East 14th. We're the Industrial Technology Center, so it's just right behind the Shears Technology Center. That's where the Workforce Development Center is there. And we serve folks that are unemployed and underemployed there in partnership with Kansas Works, which is the Kansas Department of Commerce employees, as well as Local Area 1, our local Workforce Investment Board. And they serve folks that are looking for work. Either they're underemployed, unemployed. Students, of course, are all job seekers as well. So we serve all those different groups.
You also do a lot of training with business and industry.
Yes.
And kind of responding to their needs as well. And what's a typical kind of training that industry wants in South Central Kansas? Or is there a typical kind of training? Is it so scattered that there's not a focus?
There are a few regular requests for training, but the requests are quite varied, but there are some themes. I'd say the area of supervisory development is a common theme, and that really cuts across all different kinds of industries. One of our most popular programs, the most in-demand programs, is our Manufacturing Skills Certificate. That's 8 college credits that prepares somebody to enter the basic manufacturing environment. We have some employers that will actually use that in lieu of first year's experience. So that's a great accomplishment for somebody to get that certificate. It's also a great foundational skill for some of our further certificates. You can stack a welding certificate onto that basic manufacturing skills, industrial mechanical maintenance, manufacturing engineering technology, so that basic manufacturing skills is in demand both from a workforce development standpoint for folks that are yet to find a job, as well as we use some of those same classes with folks that are currently working, employers that are developing the workforce that is in place. So several employers in our service area, and our service area is Reno County, McPherson County, part of Rice County, and Harvey County. But those employers will take portions of that manufacturing skill certificate. Of course, if folks are already working, they want it delivered in a shorter amount of time. But they'll use particularly the math and the blueprint reading skills, the precision measurement skills. The manufacturing skills certificate also includes some OSHA safety and some employability skills. So we can customize that if an employer needs an abbreviated version of it, or we offer the full 8 hours if an employer would want it as well. Plus, we do that quite a bit for folks that are job seekers.
Yeah, we've had a lot of talk about the unemployment rate being pretty low here in Reno County and South Central Kansas. Now there are exceptions. But even in those areas that have relatively high unemployment rates, is it safe to say that there's still a skilled worker shortage?
Yeah, we have, even at the very beginnings of the recovery, we were hearing from employers that, okay, I hear in the national news that there's all this unemployment, but where are the skilled workers? So as companies come out of the downturn, I think they're really looking for high-quality, skilled employees that both have the basic skills, have the basic work ethics. I think that's a very strong thing we hear from employers. People that can have very good attendance and can get along well with their co-workers, the members of their team, as well as have some cross-trained skills, some flexibility, being able to be willing and able to do other tasks. So that technical skills gap is there, yes. Even in areas where there is some higher unemployment, it's are the right people available for employers. So yeah, I think it's going to be a trend that continues.
Are you seeing jobs becoming more sophisticated as we move forward, as far as the skill set?
Absolutely, absolutely. Even in areas where you'd think that they're more manual labor, there's weld shops that now include robotic welding, and there's some programs that need to be run or programs that need to be programmed, more automation, more cross-training, even just being able to know other technical skills, so you're not just a welder, you also need to be a fabricator or do some light machining and the like. So yes, I think it's manufacturing is a more demanding environment from a technical skills standpoint. And we're hearing from more employers just basic, where you'd think they're just a manufacturing environment, where they need basic computer skills, because so much of their data is entered on computers, and it's not just it's not just running a welder or doing assembly. You also need to know how to navigate a computer as well.
Yeah, what we've heard is that in order to be competitive in a global economy, you can't be labor intensive. And I think we're seeing some of that with the introduction of technology in the workplace, because they can't be labor intensive. They can't be labor intensive and compete with China or Vietnam or India in the marketplace.
Exactly. I think some of the downfall of manufacturing, they say that there aren't many manufacturing jobs left in the United States, but there's more manufacturing done than ever. It's just it doesn't take as many people. As companies have learned how to do more with less, add automation, add efficiencies to their processes. I think it's how we can compete globally. Right, you're right, and it's not anything that we need to look back at the good old days and how come we can't go back there. The reality is we are competing with those countries, those other countries you mentioned globally, and we need to learn how to be able to do that, and to be able to do it more efficiently and more effectively is our solution to that. We also have taken some of those same concepts, those manufacturing efficiencies, using lean manufacturing and Six Sigma type programs. We're looking at some of those same programs in the healthcare arena, and how can we help bring some of those efficiency concepts, those smarter manufacturing type concepts, to the healthcare arena, to see if we can help those areas improve their profitability, especially with the pressures and with the new healthcare laws and et cetera, the uncertainty with Medicare reimbursements.
Healthcare is kind of a big issue for Hutchinson Community College too, with all of our various allied health training programs. And those allied health training programs certainly are being taken out to the public. I guess I'm kind of interested, you mentioned using lean manufacturing in the healthcare environment. How would that look?
Well, some of the concept, lean manufacturing isn't necessarily just manufacturing techniques. It's things like it's reducing waste. It's improving the number of times a piece of paper is handled and stuff like that. So you think of a normal healthcare visit, and you've got the first thing you do when you go to the doctor is you go to a waiting room. Waiting is one of the 7 wastes you want to take out in lean manufacturing. So in healthcare, they make special rooms they should be called wasting rooms, not waiting rooms. And you think of the complexity of the billing processes and the efficiencies of when doctors make rounds, for example. Doctors make rounds at a certain time, and it produces a huge demand on a lab at early in the morning, because the doctor wants lab results before they make rounds, and then the rest of the day the lab is maybe less busy. So how do you level load that schedule to make the most efficient use of the lab? Not necessarily working harder, but how do you work smarter? How do you best equip an exam room with the right equipment so that there's no waste so everything's there for the doctor or the clinician when the appointment time is there, but none of so everything is there, but you don't have wasted inventory. Some places that have implemented it have healthcare, you have quality audits, and Medicare is including a withholding of a couple percent of Medicare reimbursements based on quality results. And one of the things is that clinics can get hit on is expired Band-Aids and other sterile equipment, that's packaged in an exam room. Well, how do they make sure that inventory is turning over right? So the right inventory is there, but they don't have the wrong inventory there. And the wrong inventory can be simply just, you're carrying it and it's additional waste. So how do you make best use of your resources?
I think with Workforce Development Center, one of the things you talk about is trying to serve that unemployed worker. You also serve that industry that's getting ready to lay somebody off. So if you've got Acme Tools here in town who is getting ready to have a major layoff, what would you advise them to do, and how can they perhaps make best use of your services and perhaps take care of their employees as well?
Well, they can contact the Workforce Center, and they've got specialists that will come out and do a rapid response. Basically help get folks streamlined to how to apply for unemployment for that when that day comes, and how to get their job search started. That rapid response is a way to put people a little bit at ease, so they don't have the anxiety of or at least as much anxiety with a pending layoff. It's hard to see that happen when it does, but the reality is there are times when it does, and you want somebody that can be there to react, and those folks can be out on short notice and help provide some counseling on what your next steps would be if you are one of those folks affected.
So that's kind of looking at it from the company standpoint. They can call in the workforce folks, and they will meet with their employees, get them squared away. And if I recall correctly, one of the things you don't want them to do is to quit.
Right. You'd like them to be there, for part of that transition time, and be productive, and as long as you can, and not cause more of an issue for the transition than needs to be there. Yeah.
Certainly, we're kind of giving you a scenario,
right,
David. If I happen to lose a job and I needed assistance going back to work, step by step, what would I do? I would come to the Workforce Development Center, register, and then they would do what?
We'd come to the Workforce Development Center, and they would provide some career counseling, basically run you through some tests on where your aptitudes might be and what you might be interested in doing, what you might be interested in pursuing, as well as a lot of people that lose their jobs haven't, maybe their resume isn't up to date, or they haven't interviewed for a while. They would help you with getting your resume updated and looking current, as well as some interviewing skills they might help you with. They'd identify where your training gaps might be, and if you're interested in something that you need some additional training for. Of course, being on our campus, they can hook you up closely with training that we've got here at HCC. So it's a unique relationship that not a lot of workforce centers around the country have, to be co-located with a community college. So they can help you get into training like that, as both longer-term training if you're looking to become a practical nurse, for example, or shorter-term training if you just need to improve some computer skills to get into a job.
So those are our opportunities that are out there, and that's basically the way it'll happen if you come in and are unemployed and have been laid off and you're looking for new options.
Right, and employers, I think, really look upon, if you're unemployed, and especially during this a little bit longer downturn we've had during this recession, employers look real favorably on the fact that if you've been out of work for a while, but during that time you've been out of work, you've been doing some training, that you've been putting your time to good use. I think employers look on that really favorably as well, that you just weren't waiting for something to come along.
We also have some interview services for employers too. If an employer wants to do some interviewing, we make space available for them.
Right. We've done. I mean, we've got definitely some space if they need to come in and do some interviews, do job fairs. We've done some relatively small job fairs where there's a few people that would come in applying for a very specific position to say a huge job fair like we did at the Fine Arts Center when Siemens was first taking applications, where we had a couple thousand people come through and we helped them with that job fair. So anything from just a few people to in the thousands.
And we've got some technology too, some interactive technology. So if they would like to do an interview with somebody who might not be in this community, might be someplace else, that can be achieved as well.
Exactly. We've got high definition video conferencing equipment in the Workforce Center there that's available to employers. We've had several employers that have, say they've got an engineer that they need to interview that's in Arizona or North Carolina, that they'd like to, either that person can't commit the travel time necessarily, or the expense of bringing somebody in, of course, is pretty big. They can avoid that and do a video conference and have nearly a face-to-face interview with somebody over the internet, basically.
How do we market those services to our employers so they know that technology is there, that service is available?
A lot through one-on-one contact, visits that I make with employers, and then there are also folks that work for Local Area 1 in partnership with Kansas Works that get out and see employers.
I think it's time for us to take a little bit of a break, and we'll come back with the HCC experience and Dave Mullins with Hutchinson Community College's Workforce Development Center. We at that time want to talk a little bit about our Safety Academy at Hutchinson Community College, the services it provides, and its location as well. So at this time we'll take a short break, hearing more about Hutchinson Community College and the programs we offer at our institution. Welcome back to the HCC Experience. Guest this evening is Dave Mullins, the Director of the Workforce Development Center at Hutchinson Community College. We've been talking about services the Workforce Development Center provides for business and industry, a lot of training out there. Also the services we provide for employees in the community who might happen to have lost their job or perhaps just looking for a skill upgrade. That's all available at Hutchinson Community College. Dave, I thought we might talk a little bit about the Safety Academy at Hutchinson Community College. Many people don't know what the Safety Academy is, the services it provides, or even that it's now located at our South Campus.
Yeah, we a couple years ago had the opportunity to move into a building on South Campus, Wagner Hall. So this is just to the southwest of Yoder, at the old air base there. The Safety Academy is where we house safety training that is both industrial safety, and then a big part of our training there is mine safety. We are the state grant holder for Kansas, for the federal state grants program for mine safety for the state of Kansas. We provide safety training for underground miners. You think of the salt mines around here, that's an obvious need. But we really train a lot more people than are just in that industry, because mining includes anything where you're taking things out of the ground and kind of changing their shape. So anywhere there's a sand and gravel pit operation, those people are, according to the federal government, considered miners, and they have requirements for safety training that need to be renewed every year. So we do we train in the neighborhood of 2,500, 3,000 people each year in the area of mine safety, both new miners and experienced miners getting a renewal. And we do that across the state of Kansas, and we also do some training in Missouri, some in Nebraska. Occasionally we've gone to Oklahoma and Wyoming to do training. We haven't done that this year, but we travel quite extensively to do that training. And that is a service we provide both at our South Campus site as well as at company sites for their convenience. As a part of the new location there for mine safety training, we've also one of our functions as the state grant holder that we've taken on is the leadership in the Kansas Mine Rescue Association. So we, in conjunction with several of the underground mines, have worked with the mine rescue team across the state to do mine rescue, their emergency rescue drills, and they simulate a mine rescue. And of course, we hope it never happens, but there are times when you hear about them, and the mine disaster in Chile recently, and the horrible coal mining incident in West Virginia. You want to be able to help get those people out. So we help with that, and then as part of that new facility, we've got a large room in there that is that we've put in a simulated mine, and with some plastic superstructure and some black plastic, we've got a mine in there that we can change the routing of the mine, change the layout, and have a pretty good simulation of feeling like you're underground. And we can put different scenarios together and have people that are on those mine rescue teams practice what a rescue would be like, and do a simulation, and they do an excellent simulation with simulated victims that play a role, and how do you get people out? How do you know where the oxygen is underground? How do you map where there may have been a collapse in the mine shaft? So it's very thorough, and again, we want the best trained people, and hopefully we never have to use those skills.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. That was the Kansas Small Mine Training Program, and it was really to focus on that small mine, the mom and pop operation. Certainly, if you're a sand and gravel operation, well, you need that same kind of training as you suggested, and many of these mom and pop operations can't come in to Reno County to have that training, so we go out and provide the training on site. Because
right, exactly.
when that MSHA inspector comes along, he or she is certainly going to expect that training to be fulfilled.
Yeah, they need to have those records in place and verify that the training has taken place and that they've done it within the last year. It's a great service that we offer to folks around the state.
One of the things we always talk about is serving the needs of industry, and certainly one of those needs is safety training, and that OSHA training for small business really kind of underscores that.
Right. We do, and we have been able, with the new facility on South Campus, we've been able to put in some hands-on safety labs. We've got some arc flash training equipment where you've got the suits an electrician would wear in a high voltage situation to prevent an arc flash explosion. We've got a trenching and shoring pit indoors. A lot of training. That training would typically be outdoors, and in order to do that, the weather would have to be good. When the weather's good, the contractors want to work. So we've got a solution where they can come indoors when maybe when the weather's not as good, and they can practice the trenching and shoring, learn how to do that properly in a hands-on kind of way, not just a PowerPoint presentation, but a hands-on type way. We also have a confined space entry simulation on how you'd rescue somebody from a confined space, and that could be in a company, that could be a tank or a pit or anywhere you'd have somebody where the oxygen could be cut off and they've got limited access to escape. How would you rescue someone in that situation? What precautions do they need to go through when they go in there? And then of course we do training that's very similar to our mine safety training. We do an OSHA 10 training, which is required for a lot of contractors on specific jobs. And then a lot of, in those situations, a contractor, a company going onto that site might also need an OSHA 30 certification for their supervisors. And we provide both of those types of trainings. We'll do those on site, and we also can take those out to a company site. We like to be able to use our hands-on lab. We think that's real efficient, real effective type of training. But you know, if a company is further out and can't take advantage of that, we can bring some of that training to them. Definitely, and we travel outside and partner with some of our other community colleges if they don't have a particular training. We just had somebody in Garden City yesterday doing some OSHA 10 training because they didn't have a person at that facility that they could that they had available to teach it that day. So we partner with them as well.
I know those federal requirements are ever changing.
Mm-hmm.
How do we stay up with those, Dave? How do you keep current with what the feds are going to require in OSHA training? Because that is just like a moving target for us.
It is. Our trainers go to a lot of training themselves. Our safety trainer was just at the OSHA Training Institute in Kansas City this last summer or fall, and got caught up on some of the new requirements. They also provide some boilerplate material that you have to include in your training, both on the OSHA safety side and the MSHA safety side. Our mine safety trainers we send to either a regional or a national training meeting once a year to refresh them on what the new requirements are, any new legislation, and especially with some of the mine disasters we've had recently, there are things moving through Congress that might require additional training or changes in their training, either the frequency or the amount, and get caught up on that. And also, quite honestly, they learn from the other trainers around the country that are doing that same kind of training, any new techniques that they've got, some of the new teaching skills that we use in other types of classes at HCC, the different interactive video that you can use in a presentation or whatever to make the training more accessible to folks, make it more interesting so that they pay attention better when they're in the training, And wherever we can put hands-on training, that really helps engage the students, the industrial trainees, to help them learn the equipment or learn the material, and not just have sat through the training for 8 hours and check that box. We want them to, come away and really understand that training.
Sounds like tremendous service for Hutchinson, Reno
Mm-hmm.
County, and the state of Kansas, David.
Mm-hmm.
David, could you tell our viewers, give us some contact information, so if they'd like to have training done either on campus, on site,
Mm-hmm.
and really you kind of a no-holds-barred approach, any kind of training you need, we'll either
Right.
provide or broker it. Why don't you provide our viewers that contact information?
Sure.
And perhaps also provide information for those people who might be laid off or perhaps looking to upgrade their career, contact information there as well.
For the Workforce Center, for folks, the last that you mentioned there, they can call 665-3559, and that receptionist can direct their call depending on what it is that they need, whether they be a company that's looking for workers, maybe laying off workers, or they themselves are affected and are looking for work, unemployed or underemployed for that matter. Again, it's 665-3559. If they're looking for training, they can call my number at 620-728-8123. Of course, that same information will be available on the hutchcc.edu website. There's a business and industry tab on that website, both that lists some of the examples of the different training that we do, as well as our contact information. And for mine safety training and OSHA safety training, they can either call me or they can call directly to the Safety Academy at 620-665-4990.
Very good. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
I'm very pleased to have Dave Mullins with us today. Dave is the Director of the Workforce Development Center at Hutchinson Community College. A wonderful service for business and industry in Reno County and all of South Central Kansas. Thank you for joining us with the HCC Experience. We will see you again next week.